NR Academy is a professional training center based on modern and innovative educational standards. The main goal of our academy is to reveal the potential of each student, support their academic and personal development, and show the right direction leading to success. We believe that success is not a coincidence, but the result of proper education, continuous development, and purposeful activity. NR Academy provides students with not only theoretical knowledge, but also practical skills that can be applied in real life. Our educational programs are prepared based on modern methodologies and innovative approaches and presented in an interactive and result-oriented manner. Each student is given an individual approach and a development strategy is formulated in accordance with their goals. Our academy organizes high-quality trainings on applicant preparation, psychology, personal development, public speaking and communication skills, body language, emotional intelligence, and professional development programs for trainers. These programs develop the knowledge and skills of participants, creating conditions for them to succeed in both their academic and professional lives. The main advantages of NR Academy are professional and experienced trainers, modern and innovative teaching methods, certified programs, online and face-to-face learning opportunities, as well as a practical and results-based approach. The education model offered at our academy is specially designed to support students' future career success. Our mission is to add value to society through knowledge and development, and our vision is to become one of the leading and influential education brands in the region.
NR Academy provides students with not only education, but also self-confidence, leadership, and a successful future. Don't leave your future to chance. Take the first step on the path to success today. Develop your knowledge with NR Academy, discover your potential, and achieve your goals with confidence. Nurey Rahimli is a trainer and education entrepreneur working in the field of modern education and personal development. He approaches education not only as a means of transferring theoretical knowledge, but also as a development process that shapes a person's mindset and prepares them for real life. The NR Academy he created is based on an innovative educational model, and the main goal here is to develop both academic and personal skills of students. In addition to preparing applicants, the Academy provides training in areas such as psychology, personal development, public speaking, communication skills, body language, and emotional intelligence. Nurey Rahimli's approach is based on individual development. He individually assesses the potential of each student, reveals their strengths, and purposefully shapes their development path. The main principle in his work philosophy is practical learning and result-oriented development. That is, the goal is not just to provide information, but to transform that knowledge into skills that can be used in real life. In general, Nurey Rahimli acts as an educational leader who aims to support young people in self-knowledge, self-confidence, and making better decisions in their future lives. NR Academy, your reliable partner on the path to success. Contact 077 345 50 20. This creates space, mentally and emotionally. Over time, resilience becomes natural, not forced, not practiced in theory, but built through repeated experience. The person trusts that no matter what happens, they will find a way to respond, adjust, and continue. And in this flow, something quietly powerful happens. The person stops trying to control everything and starts mastering what actually belongs to them, their focus, their actions, and their direction. From here, life is no longer heavy. It becomes something lighter, clearer, and more intentional. At this point, there is nothing left to chase, only something to maintain and refine. The person is no longer driven by urgency or pressure, but by clarity and intention. What once felt like effort now feels like a natural rhythm. They begin to trust the process fully, not because everything is predictable, but because they have built the ability to navigate uncertainty. This trust removes hesitation and replaces it with quiet, consistent action. Distractions lose their pull. The person no longer needs to fight them aggressively. They simply become less relevant. Focus becomes a default state, not something that has to be forced. There is also a deeper acceptance of imperfection. The person understands that progress will never be perfectly linear, and that occasional setbacks do not define the direction. This makes them more stable, less reactive, and more adaptable. And in this state, life becomes simpler, but more powerful. Not because challenges disappear, but because the person now meets them with clarity, control, and self-trust. At the end of it all, one truth remains clear. Change was never about becoming someone else. It was about becoming fully aligned with who they were capable of being. And even here, the process doesn't stop. It evolves. The person begins to refine not just actions, but intentions. They question not only what they do, but why they do it. This adds depth to every decision and makes their direction more meaningful. There is also a growing sense of internal quiet, not the absence of thoughts, but the absence of unnecessary noise. The mind becomes clearer, more focused, less reactive. This clarity allows better judgment and more precise action. The person starts to value quality over quantity in every area: work, relationships, habits, even goals. Instead of chasing more, they invest deeper into what truly matters. This creates stronger, more lasting results. At the same time, awareness expands. The person becomes more conscious of patterns, both within themselves and in their environment. They notice what supports their growth and what drains it, and they adjust accordingly without overthinking. And eventually, a subtle but powerful shift completes itself. The person no longer sees growth as something separate from life. Growth is life. Every decision, every action, every moment becomes part of that ongoing process. There is no rush, no pressure to prove, no need to force outcomes, just steady movement, clear direction, and a grounded sense of self. And that is where real freedom begins. From here, the person starts to operate with a different kind of precision. Not rigid, not forced, just intentional. They know where to invest their time, where to step back, and where to let things unfold. This balance creates efficiency without burnout. They also become more comfortable with silence, both externally and internally. The need for constant stimulation fades. In that space, ideas become clearer, priorities sharpen, and decisions feel lighter. Control is redefined. It's no longer about controlling outcomes, but about mastering input, focus, effort, consistency. The person lets go of what they can't control without resistance and doubles down on what they can influence. There's also a deeper alignment between values and actions, no more contradiction between what they believe and how they live. This alignment creates integrity, and that integrity builds trust, not just with others, but with themselves. And in that self-trust, there is a quiet certainty. Whatever comes next, they will handle it. Not perfectly, but effectively. At this level, life becomes less about proving strength and more about being strong. Less noise, more clarity, less pressure, more direction. And without needing to announce it, the person has fully stepped into ownership of their life. At this point, the person begins to understand that stability is not something that comes from controlling everything around them, but from mastering what happens within them. Control shifts from external outcomes to internal responses. This creates a sense of grounded confidence that does not easily break under pressure. The need for constant validation starts to fade. The person no longer depends on approval because their actions are now aligned with their own standards and values. This independence strengthens decision-making and removes hesitation that once came from overthinking what others might think. Discipline becomes more natural, not forced. It is no longer about pushing hard for short periods, but about maintaining a steady rhythm over time. The person stops chasing bursts of motivation and instead builds systems that support consistency. There is also a shift in how time is perceived. Instead of rushing for quick outcomes, the person starts thinking in terms of long-term impact. This reduces impatience and allows deeper, more meaningful progress to take place. As awareness grows, distractions lose their power. The person becomes more selective about where to invest attention, understanding that focus is directly tied to results. This clarity makes actions sharper and more intentional. Eventually, a quiet confidence forms. Not loud, not performative, but stable. The person does not feel the need to prove anything constantly. They simply continue building, step by step, knowing that results will follow. And perhaps the most important realization appears here. Growth is no longer something the person is trying to achieve. It becomes part of who they are. From here, the person starts to move with a different kind of certainty. Not because everything is guaranteed, but because they trust their ability to handle whatever comes. This trust removes the fear of uncertainty and replaces it with a sense of capability. Decisions become cleaner. There is less hesitation, less second-guessing. The person understands that clarity does not come before action. It comes through action. So instead of waiting to feel ready, they move and adjust along the way. The relationship with failure fully transforms. Failure is no longer something to avoid, but something to use. Each mistake becomes data. Each setback becomes direction. This mindset accelerates growth in a way that perfection never could. At the same time, patience deepens, not passive waiting, but active patience, continuing to act without immediate results. The person understands that meaningful outcomes require time, and they are willing to stay in the process long enough to see them. There is also a stronger sense of ownership. The person stops blaming circumstances, people, or timing. They take full responsibility for their direction, and strangely, this responsibility does not feel heavy. It feels empowering. As this continues, life starts to feel more intentional. Days are no longer random or reactive. There is direction behind actions, even small ones. And over time, these small, intentional actions compound into something significant. And then comes a subtle but powerful shift. The person no longer chases change. They embody it. At this stage, the person no longer looks for shortcuts. They understand that anything built quickly without depth will not last. So instead of rushing, they focus on building something solid, something that can hold under pressure. Consistency becomes a form of identity, not just an action. It is no longer something they try to do, but something that defines who they are. This removes the internal resistance that once made everything feel difficult. The person also becomes more comfortable with silence, not just external silence, but internal silence. The constant noise of doubt, comparison, and overanalysis fades. In its place, there is clarity, and from that clarity, better decisions naturally emerge. There is no longer a need to constantly restart. Before, every failure felt like going back to zero. Now, the person understands that nothing is lost. Every experience carries forward, every lesson compounds. From here, the person starts to move with a different kind of certainty. Not because everything is guaranteed, but because they trust their ability to handle whatever comes. This trust removes the fear of uncertainty and replaces it with a sense of capability. Decisions become cleaner. There is less hesitation, less second-guessing. The person understands that clarity does not come before action. It comes through action. So instead of waiting to feel ready, they move and adjust along the way. The relationship with failure fully transforms. Failure is no longer something to avoid, but something to use. Each mistake becomes data. Each setback becomes direction. This mindset accelerates growth in a way that perfection never could. At the same time, patience deepens. Not passive waiting, but active patience, continuing to act without immediate results. The person understands that meaningful outcomes require time, and they are willing to stay in the process long enough to see them. There is also a stronger sense of ownership. The person stops blaming circumstances, people, or timing. They take full responsibility for their direction. And strangely, this responsibility does not feel heavy. It feels empowering. As this continues, life starts to feel more intentional. Days are no longer random or reactive. There is direction behind actions, even small ones. And over time, these small, intentional actions compound into something significant. And then comes a subtle but powerful shift. The person no longer chases change. They embody it.